say is the state of the economy, just specifically drilling down on the economy.
Yeah. Well, on Friday morning when I was over with the president in South Court, he said this, so I will just say what he said on Friday, which is that the state of the economy is strong.
Thanks, Brian. Another polling question. You mentioned how the president said Friday that the state of the economy is strong. We had a poll out over the weekend, ABC News, that found that 41% of Americans say they're worse off financially now than before this president took office. How do you explain the disconnect there of why this administration's message about the strong economy is not getting through?
Right. So I think the poll that you just cited is actually consistent. So about 2/3 of Americans say that their circumstances are better than before. Say it either way. That is in part reflected in the data that you're saying is that more Americans believe they're in a better economic position in terms of their own balance sheet. And so for all those reasons, it's understandable that even as personal household circumstances for the majority of people have improved, the anxiety, the economic anxiety is real.
Building off that same question, I guess when you've been asked variations on this, on the perceptions voters are having in the economy, but when do people start feeling more optimistically about the outlook? And just to clarify on the stat that was just cited, it's only 16% of those in the poll believe they're financially better off than when Biden entered the office. 42% feel about the same. So just to clarify, it's only 16% are feeling better off. Yeah. So when do people start feeling? More people start feeling better off about the financial future of the country.
Well, look, I think that I don't want to, I don't want to repeat myself only to say we have more work to do. Reasons why we should continue down the path of the progress that we have made. Ultimately, the ultimate test of an economic policy and an economic outcome is whether families feel more economic security in their lives.
The president has a lot of good news to tout tomorrow. I'm wondering, though, if you can help us get a better sense of his thinking on a lingering problem. The other day, when he was asked about inflation,
Do you take any blame for inflation, Mr. President?
Do I take any blame for inflation? No.
Correct. Why not?
Because it was already there when I got here, man. Remember what the economy was like when I got here? Jobs were hemorrhaging. Inflation was rising. We weren't manufacturing a damn thing here. We were in real economic difficulty. That's why I don't.
Mr. President.
We are making progress, and globally, as inflation is a challenge everywhere, the United States is one of the places where we're seeing one of the strongest and most resilient labor market recoveries with inflation coming down as well. So,
a number of them dealt with this perception issue of how Americans are feeling differently than a lot of the positive data you have. Is there a perception issue in the other direction on inflation? Because when the president says he's not responsible for inflation, that it's a global issue and things like that, is there a problem or maybe a gap somewhere in how the White House views inflation when so many Americans feel it on a daily and weekly basis when they're having to meet their obligations? Is there a perception gap on inflation here?
Yeah, no, not at all. I mean, you have a president who has gone out and said that his top economic priority is to bring down inflation. You have a president that prioritized working with Congress to pass a bill called the Inflation Reduction Act, and as a result, in no small part because of those efforts, we're now seeing progress. That progress is not sufficient. We need to keep making more progress, but the president is actually focused today on those.
Speaker McCarthy clearly believes Democrats in the White House will give Republicans some concession for raising the debt limit. I'm wondering why Democrats would negotiate at all over that debt ceiling.
So we'll just circle back. I think I've answered elements of this before. It's important to distinguish between two things. One is the full faith and credit of the United States government. For House Republicans to put out their budget plan and then to have a conversation around those two. So that's why you've heard the president and the administration both commit that we will do that. We'll put out a budget. We'll put out a very detailed budget here in the next month. And our hope and expectation is that the House Republicans will do the same.